No small task there. Thanks, Jen. Um, I've probably been coaching my whole life if I think about it, but actually formally only been really looking at it for about 8 years or so. Um, and that all came around completely by accident. So at the time, I had just been told by my now ex-wife that our marriage was over. Um, it was a massive shock to me at the time. And while it felt absolutely miserable and really dark, I also knew everything was going to be okay. I wasn't quite sure where that belief came from, but I decided to follow it. And I also knew the power of sharing space with people, having conversations with people, because I'd been mentoring soldiers of mine that I'd served with that had been struggling with life after service, anything from drug and alcohol addiction to post-traumatic stress to just the rough and tumble of life outside of a big institution. And I'd seen how much having someone to hold space for you that doesn't need to know the answers, but is there and is less caught up in it can be really, really helpful. And I decided there and then in that moment of everything being turned upside down to give myself space and to get hold of a couple of friends. And in the process of about 5 or 6 weeks of exploring, reading books, not sleeping much, not eating much, running a lot, and spending time with these two really close friends, um, I found my mind settled. And the things that I was finding really difficult started to become not less difficult, but more understandable, and I could see a way beyond them. Whereas before that, I couldn't do that. Um, and then around the same time, a friend of mine got in touch just to say hi, how are you doing? I said what had been going on, and he went, "Oh right, yeah, I'm not your man. I'm not your man. I don't do that kind of stuff. Do you want to speak to my other half, who I'd met before, a chap called Phil Hathaway, who I've interviewed for my podcast." Um, and Phil introduced me to the three principles as an idea in a really gentle way. He just said, "Cool, listen to this stuff, see what you think, and if it makes some sort of sense to you and you want to learn more, then get back in touch." And from there, I ended up getting really interested in it and going to learn from Aaron and Leela at One Thought, and probably in 2017, I want to say. Um, and the sole intention of doing that course was to help one friend who was really struggling with suicidal thoughts, and I wanted to be able to speak to him more confidently about what I was learning and also be able to back up more than what Dave Hill had read in the book. I didn't feel I had the credibility to take something to him, and I was also really worried that I might cause more harm than good. And within a couple of weeks of starting that, I realised I couldn't hurt anybody with what I was trying to point them to because it was already in them, and that opened the floodgates. And from there, I realised that actually I could help more veterans with what I'm doing if I changed my working model and start coaching other people. So I now do a mixture of things. I mainly work with people in the finance and consulting worlds. The rough plan is I spend about 40% of my time earning money through doing that, and I can then give 60% of it away to veterans. And I also volunteer into a thing called Heartfelt Presence, which runs a 24-hour Zoom room, and I do 2 hours of stuff for them a week.